Hi, I'm Zach Randles-Friedman. This is the Listen Up Girl podcast, and I'm giving you the news for LGBTQ plus community for Sunday, August 2nd, 2026. We've got 6 stories for you today. A Democratic campaign disaster in Ohio, a scouting organization quietly erasing its vulnerable members, and one genuinely joyful piece of news to send you into your week. So let's get into it. Ohio's governor race meltdown. So let's start in Ohio, where a meeting meant to repair damage did just the opposite. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Amy Acton has spent the last month under fire from her own party after telling a local newspaper she does not support boys playing in girls' sports, using that language to describe transgender girls in the wake of the Supreme Court's ruling upholding state bans on trans student athletes. Ohio's Democratic Pride Caucus and Progressive Caucus both pushed back hard, and Equality Ohio downgraded her candidate rating from an A to pending. So her campaign scheduled a Zoom meeting with the LGBTQ plus advocates to talk through it. Acton didn't show up. Her campaign manager barred the Pride Caucus's vice chair, a transgender candidate for the state house, even from entering the call. Another attendee was locked in a virtual waiting room for the entire meeting, and when it was over, there was no apology and no commitment to change course, just promise to figure it out. Acton is running against Republican Vivek Ramaswamy, who has spent years calling the LGBTQ plus rights movements a cult. Advocates in the room say that's exactly what makes this moment so painful. They're watching their own party candidate borrow the other side's language while offering nothing in return. Sad. Next, Scouting America erases its own progress. So the next story is about what happens when an organization caves to pressure one policy at a time. Scouting America, the organization formerly known as the Boy Scouts, has eliminated the dedicated spaces it once created for gay youth, women, and scouts of color at its National Jamboree, a 10-day gathering that drew roughly 15,000 scouts and leaders to West Virginia this year. The change comes after months of pressure from the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, who threatened to pull the Pentagon's century-old support for the organization unless it had abandoned what he called woke policies. Scouting America has allowed transgender youth to join programs matching their gender identity since 2017 and admitted girls since 2018. Under the new agreement, membership is based solely on sexual assigned at birth. A DEI-related merit badge has been cut, and the organization has committed to keeping biological boys and girls out of shared spaces like tents and showers. Some longtime scouts told reporters they skipped this year's Jamboree entirely rather than take part in an event that no longer reflected the inclusive organization they signed up for. I wouldn't have gone either. Next, a Democrat think tank's new playbook. This story is about strategy, not just backlash. The Center for American Progress, one of the most influential Democratic aligned policies shops in Washington, released a new report this week called Ending the Backlash on LGBTQI plus Issues. It reaffirms strong support for gender-affirming care, military service, and anti-discrimination protections. But on the athletics, it breaks from where the party has stood, saying restrictions on transgender athletes may be appropriate depending on the sport and level of competition, with those decisions left to the schools and governing bodies rather than politicians. The report's lead author, Caleb Smith, who is transgender himself, says the goal is to lower the temperature without abandoning the community. But trans advocates are convinced, some worry, that handling the decision to sports governing bodies just moved the exclusion one step removed from politicians without actually stopping it. It's a preview of a fight Democrats are clearly having internally, and the Ohio governor's race, which we just talked about, is Exhibit A of what happens when that internal fight spills onto public view. Our next story is a food bank would rather go empty. Now to West Virginia, where a food bank shelves are bare, and it's by choice. A pastor who runs God's Storehouse Food Bank in Bluefield, which has fed up to 1,800 families a day, posted a video showing his freezers completely empty. Why? Because he's refusing donations from Feeding America and other suppliers he said that are connected to gay rights movements. In his words, I'd refuse to receive food from anybody that is tied into that. Feeding America is the nation's largest hunger relief charity, and it works essentially with any organization willing to help feed people. This pastor turned that help away, and after backlash, posted a follow-up video trying to walk it back as a misunderstanding about vendors rather than donors. even though his original message made no such distinction. Meanwhile, families who relied on that food banks are the ones that are actually going without. I don't understand why that pastor is even still working. Next, the UK's bathroom guidance takes effect this week. So across the Atlantic, a major policy shift is about to become official. Starting August 5th, new guidance from the UK's Equality and Human Rights Commission takes legal effect, restricting transgender people across England, Scotland, and Wales from using single-sex spaces and facilities that match their gender identity. It follows last year's UK Supreme Court ruling that legal definition of a woman under the country's equality refers to only biological sex. Stonewall and other UK LGBTQ plus organizations have called the guidance incredibly worrying it affects all trans people access to health care, employment, and basic services the moment it takes effect this week. It's one more example of the pattern researchers are tracking across Europe. Legal protections don't always disappear all at once. Sometimes they erode guidance by guidance, ruling by ruling, until what was once exceptional becomes routine. And then Noah Ark makes Emmy history. So now some genuinely great news to close us out. Noah's Ark, the movie, the reunion film that brought the original cast back together for the franchise's 12th anniversary, just earned its first Emmy nomination for Outstanding Choreography. It recognizes Christian John Devi, Vincent's work on the firm's big dance sequences. Vincent didn't just choreograph the movie, he also reprised his original role as Ricky as one of the show's 4 leads. Here's why this matters. Noah's Ark puts Black men at the center of television show when almost nobody else would. It ran 2 seasons before getting canceled in 2006 and has spent 20 years finding its way back. A movie in 2008, a pandemic reunion special in 2020, and now this. A single choreography nomination might look small next to its categories with dozens of contenders, but for a show that funded its own pilot episode by episode, it's the industry finally catching up to what this community already knew. So that's the 6 stories for today. Some you have to sit hard with, and one that will hopefully make you smile. If this episode meant something to you, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you tomorrow. Stay loud, stay proud, and